miniature girl, Amira, and you're watching the Creator Spotlight. I really love Marvel. I love movies. I love superheroes, fandoms, Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter. I'm part of like pretty much any fandom that exists, but yeah, huge fan of Marvel, as you can see.
What was the first fandom that really just spoke to you, that got you excited, that kind of brought you down that rabbit hole? We always have that one thing that triggers it. You know, for me, it was as a kid, like needing to like improve in reading. My mom introduced me to a Superman comic, which kind of went down the rabbit hole for me. What was it for you that kind of got you started?
Well, to be honest with you, for me, it started like really, really young. I started with Disney. Like I used Disney to like learn French when I was really young, and I was like 1, and I remember like watching The Lion King and stuff. So I kind of became obsessed with that, but I wasn't necessarily like, I just used to watch like all of their movie every year. Every time there was a new release, I would watch them. But the one that like pushed me into the fandom culture, it's really Harry Potter. Like I grew up with Harry, reading the books, like the movies were like mind blowing for me. And then, you know, you start like getting merch, trying to, oh, I want my wand, I want stuff like that, I want to be sorted in a house. And then after that, like it became, I think I jumped after that to Lord of the Ring, The Hobbit, and then it was just like downhill from there. I watched like,
so it sounds like you're really into the lore of the things that you are interested in.
Yeah, like I'm someone that I like to know things. So like when I become a fan of something, I want to know the fun facts, why it was created, and what was the idea behind this character, that sort of thing. Sometimes I have to like stop myself because I don't necessarily want to be in like too much into something to a point where like it becomes kind of like my whole like, if let's say I buy like, I don't know, the shield of Captain America, then I would be like, oh, well, I need to get like obviously Iron Man's like, you know, like with the Infinity Stone, but then I need Thor's like Mjolnir, and then I'm gonna be financially ruined at the end of this, so I just have to like pace myself.
You did mention collect, so we have to dive into a little bit. Aside from that, like your self-awareness not to get too far into collecting, but what are some of your favorite things to collect? Because obviously that's like the gamut of stuff that you can get, from like Funkos to, like you mentioned, like obviously collectibles that are iconic things that our superheroes have. What are some of your favorite things that you have been collecting?
Oh, well, the thing, I was always like, oh, I'm never gonna go into Funkos, right? I was like, I'm not gonna go Funkos because I see it happening. I see myself not being able to exit that environment. But then I start collecting Funkos, and then I have like 25 of them in like my cupboard. But still, these are like, I think Funkos, but the thing that I like the most is like when I have a little thing like a hoodie or something that says just like, it's just like a wink that only another fan will know. I love things like that, like a backpack or something that just someone like, oh, I love that anime, I love that movie, but stuff, I really love it. Yeah, so like my key to my house is like an Iron Man key, like on it it's like printed Iron Man, and I just love it, and I was like, only I know that I'm cool like that. But yeah, so it just, yeah, that's like, I love things like that.
Yeah. So who is your favorite superhero?
I don't know. My favorite MCU one, I mean, I've been pretty vocal about it, but it's Tony. I love the fact, I love characters who were like at like one side of a spectrum and then try their best to, like, I love a redemption arc. I really love it. And I feel like, I mean, obviously he committed a lot of mistakes, and I feel like that's the most human thing to do, wanting to change, but then stumbling on your way to be a better person. I'm not necessarily, I don't think that heroes should be better than us, but obviously they have a lot of responsibilities, that sort of thing. But for me, I got like, I connected with him because I'm a sucker for that sort of story. The guy who was selling like weapons, like he represented everything that I was not comfortable with and I did not like. But then he realizes that he was the one that was bringing so much like darkness into people's life and things like that. So him becoming a hero was kind of for himself. And I like that sort of thing, you know, trying to be better because you're like, that's not who I am. So yeah, I'm a sucker for that sort of arcs.
And that speaks really well to what Stan Lee's whole purpose was. He wanted to have heroes within Marvel that had personal problems and had issues, and so that people could understand that these are just regular people like the rest of us. They just have these super abilities. And I think we sometimes forget that. And so it's nice to see those problems, and it's nice to resonate. And I agree. And I know Tony gets a lot of hate sometimes, but it's always hard because my name is Tony. And when people are like, Tony sucks, I'm like, no, don't say
No, but at the same time, I feel like I mean, we are privileged in the sense that we don't live necessarily with the world where there are really superheroes or people with powers. So we're like really strict with them. We're like, oh, he should have known better. I mean, if I had Wanda's powers and I went through like half of the hardship that she went through, I'm not sure that I would have been really responsible as a person. I mean, I have my ethics and I have my values and things like that. And I would love to think that I have been someone who would have stick to them. But I think people should be a bit more like forgiving, because they're fictional characters and they're supposed to teach, right? I'm not gonna judge Tony as if he was a real person, because it's not real at the end of the day. I mean, I would love to, but it's not. My other favorite character, it's Spider-Man, just because he represents like the guy who always like continues and try his best. Like I just love the kind of the pureness of Peter Parker, that he's like the guy who he went through like so many hardships, but at the same time he's the one who's like, you know what, I'm needed. I need to. That's why I love No Way Home. And I know that there's like a lot of fan service in No Way Home, but obviously I'm a fan, so it was done for me and I'm happy with the fan service. I just love that Andrew Spider-Man got like a bit of a redemption arc. I just, it was the best. He was the best. So yeah. So these are my two, as you can see, my two favorites, because they represent two like core values that I really like cherish. So yeah.
Now, Amira, I have to ask, like, so you're talking about keeping a balance. You're very insightful on, you know, the way you talk about like your video about not all representation is good. And that spoke to me in a way that I had been waiting for, I think something to speak to me, you know, in the conversation, because we have this idea of, and it happened back with Shang-Chi, and it's like, okay, we have an Asian superhero, you know, this Chinese American is Shang-Chi, and he's doing this thing, and Simu Liu did a great job, and people were hating on that a bit. And it's like, well, there's a lot of movies out there. There's crazy, you know, rich Asians. There's this, there's that. And just because though the Asian people were represented in film didn't mean it was always good representation. And so with Kamala, we have the same idea that with Muslim representation, it's typically depicted as something bad. And if you want to touch on that a little bit, like where you came with that, because that blew my mind. It gave me something that I needed to hear to be able to know how to continue the argument, because there are people that I deal with a lot that just don't understand. And I think it made great sense.
As a Muslim, I mean, it started like even before, like, it's just like I've never been able to see a character that looked like me that was not necessarily like super sexualized, or like, you know, or like the bad guy or the victim, or like the woman that needed saving from like the soldier. Like, oh, he's like, oh, because the guy from my culture are so bad and I can't live with them. Like, it's just like exhausting, because I know that we're not like that. We know, like as Muslims, like I'm like, I look at my father, like no one like forced me to do anything. I look at my mother, is like my whole family, my friends, we're living pretty peacefully, like, you know. And so the fact that I see sometimes the effort of putting us into movies like Muslims and everything, but then it goes so wrong, because they never necessarily like verified with a Muslim if that was how it works. Like, one of the funniest thing is that in every like TV show where there's a Muslim character that wears a headscarf, there's always one episode where she loses the headscarf for one reason or another, and then she shows her hair. And it's just like, I remember like I was watching one TV show, I don't even remember the name, but it was like about firefighters. And
yeah, I've seen the clip goes around TikTok a lot.
Yeah, like I started watching it. I was like, okay, because she looks like really cool and stuff. And then obviously she lost her scarf because she was saving someone. And then obviously the guy saved her, which is like cool. I get it. I see what you're trying to do. But then she was banished from her mosque for that. And that is completely impossible. Like, that is just, for me, it was ludicrous. I was like, what's happening here? It would never, first of all, a mosque does not work like that. It's not necessarily like, you don't get banished from like the space of worship, not, you know? So the fact that she was banished for something that she had, like, I was like, oh, okay, I see that you don't have like a consultant, you don't have anybody that could help you. So like, yeah, they're like, oh, look at us, we're like progressive, we have a Muslim super fighter woman, and you're like, okay, cool. And then they make that her like she's the cool one, but her whole community is backwards. It's just, that's the thing. So like, not all representation is good representation, because you're trying, but you did not do it properly. So that's my only thing. Like, I love Kamala Khan, and I know that there's a lot of Muslims behind the camera as well. But at the same time, like, sometimes as a Muslim, we fall into the need to kind of water down our values and our views, and we want to be like, oh, look, like, we're just like everyone. Like, yes, we are like everybody else. And I don't necessarily think that you should humanize me. I'm already human. So like,
exactly,
you want to say like, oh, look, she has like, she drinks coffee in the morning, she's just like you. And I'm like, okay. Like, just talk about me as if I was human, because I am human. And it's not, you don't have to put like some extra effort into it. So yeah, so even though I'm really happy that there is something like Kamala Khan, like for the representation of South Asian, for Muslims and everything, there is always a fear in me that they will do something that is not true to who we are. And that's why I'm like, okay, my support is conditional to the good representation, no matter what the project is. Because yeah, we went through this way too many times for me to just let it pass another time. The thing is, like, because of the lack of representation or good representation for Muslims, I always used to watch like other TV shows or movies and things like that. Like, let's just think about like Crazy Rich Asian and Black Panther, right? They were huge cultural moments. And I remember being so happy, because I would take things that I would connect with and like put them like kind of and compare them to me. So like when he was talking about like, oh yeah, my mom or my grandma has to meet you, and or like in, you know, Black Panther, like the whole like society of like the culture, it connected to me. Like, it didn't have to be 100% like a Muslim character from North Africa. Like that's not how it works for me anyways. As long as I can see something that I connect to, even in your case, Moonlight, I've never lived like the sort of story that it was pushed, but I feel like we can empathize with the story still. Like the emotions that are being pushed, grief, love, being scared, like having to live through identity crisis. It is something that we go through at different moments in our life. It doesn't matter our culture or religion or anything like that. So I feel like as viewers, we should practice that more. We should just see a story for what it is and empathize with the feelings. And I feel like we might, like, instead of having saying, oh yeah, I don't connect to Miss Marvel because she's brown and she's a young girl and whatever. No, you can connect to the fact that when you were a teenager, maybe you were scared of asking your parents to go out late at night. I don't know, but like things like that. So yeah, it's just
I think you said something really important too that I thought about when you were talking, was that, like, especially again, I'm just giving the outside perspective, which I've said over and over again. But for me, like, I now, having heard from you and heard, you know, your perspective, I now I'm going to question things more, which is good, you know, until I know it's actually authentic and real. Hearing that perspective and hearing, and that's why exactly why Tony brought this up. It's such a good topic and such a good perspective to know, because then we're not just kind of assuming that this is going to be real because there's people behind the scenes, you know, they might be pushed by, you know, a studio or whatever to make it more palatable or whatever. So it is a good kind of gut check every now and then for someone to be like, look, like, just because it's positive doesn't mean it's realistic. And so it makes people question things more and be like, all right, well, I want to get the truth. And is it real? Like, have people speak out and like,
exactly.
Yeah. Makes you think more.
Yeah.
Now, something interesting, Amira, I know this year while you were observing Ramadan, you had taken a break from social media, and then you had come back and made an announcement that you were going to step back and that you weren't sure if you were coming back. And I know that had to be a lot of like self-searching to decide, you know, what you wanted to do to be able to come back. And first of all, we are ecstatic that you are. But what conclusion did you come to for yourself that you wanted your social media presence to be, that brought you back? And what is your purpose in really doing what you're doing now? Like, you have, I imagine, because of what you said when you step back, you have a clear set of goals. And what are those goals, and how do you hope to accomplish them?
Oh, thank you. This is like such a great question. I feel like I'm being like interviewed for like real, no, but anyways, I left, to be honest with you. I mean, I left because it started becoming too busy, and I felt like I'm not necessarily someone who's competitive. I'm someone who likes to go to at my pace. I like just putting a good message out there. But at that moment, I feel like I had to like publish more, like have to put like 3, 5 videos, whatever. And then at the same time, I don't know, like I don't necessarily remember what was happening, but there was like a huge debate going on within the community that was mostly like talks, like people talking back against like people. And that's not a space where I want to be. I don't, even if we don't agree, I don't think we should bash other like creators. Like I don't agree with your opinion. Your opinion is insensitive. This is why, blah, 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 blah. But I think we should do it with the mindset that it should be a learning experience. And that's who I am anyways. I think we should forgive, teach, and move on. That's how I am. So at that moment, I did not necessarily feel like, I was busy with work. A lot of things was happening. I work in a field where I have to like, I'm always aware of what's happening in the world and everything like that. So it was really busy for me at that moment. Ramadan is usually a time where I have to like connect with myself and my identity and things like that. And then at the same time, I felt like I was getting a lot of noise from my phone, right? So I was like, this is not necessarily the, I'm someone who loves things, right? So I'm someone who, I want to share like that, okay, I liked maybe Age of Ultron, and I don't want to be scared of saying that. And then people, you know, I was like, what is this? Like, you know, I wanted to have a safe space, right? But then after like the end of Ramadan, I had like, I think 4 weeks to think about it. And I was like, you know what? It's not necessarily going to be easy, but I want to be one of the creators of that safe space. Even if I don't agree with it, like a creator or anything like that, I usually will make a video answering them, but not necessarily like pointing my finger at them, like, you are the one, like, you know, I don't see a purpose of doing that. I don't see like, I mean, not judging anybody, like sincerely, not judging anybody who's doing this. And I understand the intention behind it. I understand that people want to educate, want to create a better environment for everybody. But yeah, so I was like, you know what? I'm going to try to be part of that. I'm going to try to be positive. And we
need more of that too. I mean, I think that's the thing too, that like, the thing, you know, that, and I don't even know, I'm like, it's overwhelming to think of like a path forward to making everything, you know, a lot better and safer and more positive and more constructive and less toxic. But I think the first thing that comes to mind is more positive, smart, insightful people that represent different perspectives and that aren't out to be like, well, if you don't know this, you're a bad person. Like that want to be like, hey, do you want to learn? I am so glad to share this perspective. So the people that do want to learn can like soak it up, take it in, and again, grow and change.
So that's what I want to do. But at the same time, I want to be a voice against misrepresentation of Muslims as well. So like, if we're talking like objective, like long, like my goals, whatever, I'm putting it out there in the universe. But like, if someone needs like a Muslim consultant in a TV show or a movie, I'm your girl. But like, I think what Marvel did, like creating this platform did for me is like, I realized I really love movies. I really love like superheroes. I knew that already, but now it's pushing me to learn more. So like, so yeah, if I can like, I don't know, participate in one way, like if someone watches my content or like reach out and say, hey, we want to talk about this Muslim character, what do you think? I would love for that to happen because I feel like you should reach to the people more. But yeah, that's why I came back, because I felt like I need, not necessarily like I was needed. I think that might be like arrogant.
I would disagree with that. Yeah, I would disagree.
No.
As soon as you left, I told Michael, I said, we lost one of the best voices for representation and one of the best voices for just keeping a safe space and not being toxic.
Thank you.
Yeah,
but yeah,
there's a reason.
I want to have like push this Muslim representation. I want to be visible and be like, hey, I'm here as well. Like I'm a fan as well. And for a lot of people, I might be their first Muslim contact, and that's okay. Like, I don't judge like people's ways of life. Maybe you've never been in contact with a Muslim person. So I want to be that first contact. I want to be the person that just like smiles, because that's who I am.